One might imagine that after centuries of existence, my daughter, Darky, would have mastered the art of composure. One would be, of course, profoundly mistaken. There are certain trivialities, you see, that still possess the uncanny ability to unravel her otherwise impeccable demeanor. On this particular afternoon, a rather insignificant flaw in her Earl Grey, a mere whisper of insufficient bergamot, I believe, or perhaps a rogue tea leaf, triggered what can only be described as a rather dramatic overreaction. The young man serving her, the very same hopeful suitor from our previous tale, was, of course, utterly oblivious to the impending storm, diligently polishing silverware while darkest internal tempest brewed. Her brow, usually as smooth as polished obsidian, began to furrow. A delicate tremor, almost imperceptible, ran through her fingertips as she gripped the teacup. The air around her, usually so serene, seemed to thicken, charged with an unspoken tension. It was a prelude, a subtle overture to the grand opera of chaos that was about to unfold, all because of a tea that failed to meet her exacting, ancient standards. Meanwhile, our earnest young waiter, still blissfully ignorant of the true nature of his clientele, bustled about, attending to the mundane demands of mortal patrons. He was, one might say, a lamb oblivious to the wolf in the corner, entirely focused on the delicate balance of teapots and pastries. His youthful optimism, I must admit, was almost endearing, in a tragic sort of way. The tea shop, a charming establishment, quickly became the stage for a burgeoning inferno of indignation. A misplaced scone, a slightly chipped teacup, the audacity of a fly daring to land on her saucer, each perceived slight fueled her escalating fury. She was, to put it mildly, on the precipice of reducing the entire establishment, and indeed, the surrounding township, to a rather picturesque pile of smouldering ash. The young waiter, now visibly alarmed, attempted a futile intervention, his pleas lost amidst the rising tide of her wrath. The air crackled with nascent destruction. The delicate aroma of Darjeeling was swiftly replaced by the acrid scent of brimstone and burning timber. The good people of the town, quite understandably, were fleeing in various states of disarray, their afternoon tea plans thoroughly ruined. Darky, in her full, magnificent fury, was about to unleash a cataclysm over, as I mentioned, a rather petty grievance. My own presence, I assure you, was merely for observation. It was at this precise, critical juncture that her true, and indeed, only worthy adversary, made his grand, albeit understated, entrance. From the shattered remnants of a display case, a figure of quiet authority emerged, Moris, the young waiter's beloved companion. Not with a roar, nor a grand incantation, but with a gaze so utterly, profoundly disapproving, that even Darky, in her most formidable aspect, found herself momentarily disarmed. He merely looked at her, a silent, yet utterly devastating, scolding. And in that instant, the inferno began to recede, as if shamed by the sheer force of feline disapproval. The young man, his owner, looked upon his cat with a newfound reverence. The transformation was, as always, rather swift. From raging inferno to chastened child in the blink of an eye. Darky, head bowed in genuine contrition, stood before Moris, who, I might add, did not relent in his silent, yet potent, reprimand. It is a peculiar dynamic, one that never ceases to amuse me. The young waiter, now understanding the true power at play, could only stare. And so, the consequences. A substantial bag of gold, reluctantly parted with, to compensate for the rather extensive redecorating of the tea shop. The waitress, still somewhat tearful, and her son, the young man who had so innocently served the offending tea, received their unexpected, albeit well-deserved, reparations. A small price, I often remind Darky, for the privilege of a well-made cup of tea, and a lesson in humility. One must understand, you see, that while Darky may command legions of shadows and conjure storms of fire, there is one immutable law in our household, a law even she dares not transgress, not a single hair on any feline is to be harmed. Regardless of provocation, regardless of fault. For I, Blackhand, do not tolerate any harm to those of the feline persuasion. It is a simple rule, but one that even Darky, in her infinite wisdom, has learned to respect. And so, the town was saved, the tea shop rebuilt, and Moris, of course, received an extra portion of cream. All, as it should be.